What's up? It's your man Jayworking.
What in the world?
It's another Thursday, another creative class. I'm about to talk to my students and hopefully get them some perspective. Just really trying to build a lot of context around design and how this can apply to any factors in your life. Not even just going into the creative field, but really the design process is really how you start from beginning to the end of an idea. So cultivating an idea, identifying a problem, coming up with solutions, and kind of refining that, and then producing a product. So that's kind of like the context of the talk today. So this is why this is so important. Like when I started out doing designs, it was just to make you a graphic designer, to work for a company, to produce materials as far as collaterals for that company. So whether that was brochures, letterheads, logos, like the visuals and the branding and all of that. And that still applies today, but I'm trying to flip it, like trying to kind of use the tools and the tricks of composition, color, idea creation, briefing with the client, coming up with solutions to really design your life around these practices and these principles, because this can apply to cinematography, this can apply to photography, this can apply to anything, like creating and mapping out your blog posts, creating and mapping out your videos, all of this stuff. So that's why I think it's key. So really trying to understand these formulas that I'm going to use to kind of flip the role of a designer into more of a role where you can really crush your life. So really execute on all type of levels, no matter what your niche is, no matter what your market is, whatever it is, you can kind of apply these tactics and use them as a way to create collateral for yourself too. So it's like a twofold. Like you have these abilities to do this in this creative role, and you can use the strategy side to really push your ideas, your concepts, and your aspirations and what you want to do to the next level. So, how you doing?
I'm good.
You cool? You cool?
Last class last night, so I was really excited about that. I heard, yeah, I just woke up in a great mood. So
Good. I mean, that's the most important thing, right? So one of the things I wanted to talk about today was I kind of like to touch on some stuff that I had already talked about, just to really form some context around like the purpose of what we're doing and why we doing this, right? So one of the things is that, you know, you're a fellow designer, I'm a fellow designer. So I want this to be more like, you know, we more like a family, we more like a community. So it's not like, you know, I'm just giving you these classes, these courses, and kind of sending you on your way. Like you're part of a network that we're trying to build up, right? So as it grows and as it gets bigger, I want to continue to connect with you and connect with whoever comes into this classroom, right? So a lot of it is like just, you know, a lot of it's that, right? So I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to talk about kind of like the design process. We got somebody else tapped in.
it's another bot.
All right, I'll keep going. Okay, so I wanted to talk about the design process, right? So the thing is, what I was thinking about was I think what makes me unique and what makes me kind of interesting is that I've been doing this for a long time. So I kind of got different lenses that I could look at it, right? I could look at it from coming from the inner city. I could look at it coming from the university. I could look at it from the corporate standpoint, right? So initially graphic design to me in my mind was just basically like a job that you did, right? So graphic design was basically turn you to a graphic designer. Graphic designer basic role was to create collateral for a company for the most part. So whether that collateral would be flyers, brochures, pamphlets, creating logos, branding, that's kind of what's the steps that you would take as a designer, your role, and as you grew to become like a creative director, working for agencies, working for companies, things like that, right? So, you know, and coming up with these ideas and concepts is like the design process. But, to go back to what I was saying, as I'm looking at it and I'm seeing like me turning this into a teacher, right? So how do I switch from being a teacher to being in this role of being a designer, right? It's like two separate fields. Well, kind of what I was doing and what I did was I used the design process in the same matter. So the thing is, what I mean by that, and I'm gonna talk about like the design process and what that is, and that'll make more sense. But what I mean by that is that like anybody could take this course. It doesn't necessarily have to go into the role of graphic design, right? You can go into cinematography, photography. It doesn't even have to be that. It could be like any tool, right? So what is the design process? And this is kind of like the meat and the potatoes of coming up with something, right? So the number one thing with the design process is the problem, right? So understanding a problem, what that problem is. It could just be a problem with a new company starting in a new market, or it could be a problem that you have, right? Or a problem that you see that needs to be solved. So that's kind of like the role of a designer. And I kind of talk about, I lean heavy on using the terms design and social change because that's what it's doing. We kind of solving a problem. So, right? So coming up with a problem. You have a problem, I got a problem, we all got problems, right? So on a micro level, on a macro level, what is these problems we need to solve, right? I need to get some more traction. I need to get some more jobs. I don't like how this is going with online training and I want to solve this problem. Or I don't like how companies or social media. So that's the problem, right? So the next thing is research, right? So we want to research that idea, research these concepts, right? So number one is identifying the problem. Number two is research. So even if that's like a company, they got a logo, or a company got a brochure or something, you're going to research that company or you're going to research that market, right? I want to get into really crushing business to business and LinkedIn. So researching that area and researching that market, right? So the next thing is idea creation, right? So once you do your research, then you start to create your ideas on what I want to do or what I want to do for this area, this company, what I want to do for myself, right? And then the next would be to test these ideas by showing me, by putting it out there and seeing what traction you get, and then finalizing that solution and then evaluating that, right? So this is the design process. This is design thinking, and this is like, even building apps, doing UI, so that's kind of what it is. So using the design process in every aspect of your life to really change your trajectory, kind of pivot in whatever situation you are. So kind of leaning back on these design principles. What's my problem? Researching that problem, generating tons and tons of ideas, testing these ideas, coming up with a final solution, and then evaluating that, right? So
I love that because that's really how I think naturally, and that's really my approach. But even not only design, but it could be writing a paper, it could be, decorating, an event or something like that. So yeah, I take those 4 steps into consideration really in everything I do, even talking to people, conflict resolution, all of that. So yeah, I totally agree 100%.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. I'm gonna talk a little bit more, and then we're gonna kind of dive into some of the stuff you got going on, or your thoughts and stuff like that. You could always jump in too. It's cool because it's just me and you, right? So, you kind of know about the 4 major steps of design: briefing, design, artwork, and production. We kind of know that. I kind of touched on. And this is an overall, always going to be evolving, always going to change. There's always going to be a need to work on this. So don't get too upset about it not being right just yet. As the designer's price guide, right? And I got that, so I need to send that to you. So the price guide and how I price my work, how much am I pricing this work for? So that's always going to vary. That's always like a question for every designer. Like, how can I price this stuff? How can I switch and charge more for what I'm charging? How do I map this out? How do I get clients to bite on that? And I think a part of it is like kind of sales. So that's the main thing. One of the main problems is that school really didn't teach us that art, right? So I got a friend like cause it's like in a whole separate building at the campus, right? You got business, you got getting your BA in business, and they kind of going over all of this stuff, and you all the way in the creative spot. And it kind of needs to merge over to both, like, because you got to sell this idea. You got to sell why this is more than your average logo, and this is what's going into it, and closing on that sale, right? So being, I think one of the things is, and you kind of talked about this last time, is that you wanted to get the experience, right? And I kind of get that. I don't think it's like no right or wrong way to do something, but I don't want you to overwork yourself and not get paid what you're worth by, putting some money on the table. And I kind of, but again, like I did it, you know what I'm saying? I did work that I felt like I should have got more for it. But I kind of had gave you an alternative too, like just come up with your own projects, come up with your own work. And what's cool about that is like this really is gonna give you the leverage to get in whatever space you want to get into, right? So if it's, remember I talked about the cat lady, and I said that she should create her own cat products, her own cat labels, and show this work for pets and stuff. And then you get into that space versus showing some work that the school wants you to do, and you're not interested in that. If you are interested in getting into the UIUX, which is a good field to get into, then really hammer on showing UIUX solutions, web solutions, and stuff like that. That's really gonna get you in the space to get that opportunity. Because the thing is, one of the most challenging things in trying to find some work is when I got a degree and I don't have no freaking experience, and I got this portfolio that the school gave me. Right.
What about the opposite? The reason I was so hesitant to really get into, paid work and stuff like that, because I try to respect the space, because I didn't major in graphic design, but if I could have minored in it or even majored in it if I had the opportunity, I would. But, my first love was always public relations and, music and communications and things like that. So, but I love creative design. I love the literacy behind it. I see how important it is, as a just human being, as a millennial, even as, NPR. So I always wanted to respect the space first, and to always respect those who were doing this, for, like, this was their career. Like if my peers are in, my art college and they're taking 3-4 classes a semester on this, I always thought, that there's something that they're learning that I just can't self-teach myself, or even if I did take a class for it, and get paid at the same rate as them. But what I have that some of them didn't have was passion. Like, I was passionate about it, which is why I was willing to do, free work or volunteer work or get underpaid and things like that for friends or mentors and stuff. But when you're giving your all, when you're at those events and, those shoots for 6-7 hours of the time, getting there, getting back, and you come home at midnight and you got hours of editing and stuff like that to do, that's the stuff that they don't see, and man, you spent 16 hours of your day doing something for, half of what your peers who do this full time would do. But, it was a favor, and you really liked what you were doing, and it was just a different look. So, that's why, I always had to push up my portfolio probably a little higher than I, may have intended to, because I didn't have that back-end classroom knowledge like my peers had. But their portfolios, may have not had the same diversity as mine, because they just didn't have that same passion.
Yeah, I think you spot on with that. You gotta have the passion, and you gotta have the drive to do it. One of the things is like kind of funny is that if you look at my YouTube channel, I've been posting on there for 5 years, right? I didn't get not one dime from YouTube for none of those videos, right? Some of them is monetized. It take a lot to monetize something, right? You need to have 1,000 subscribers, and then you need to have 4,000 watch hours within 12 months, right? And then it starts over again, right? So it takes a lot of views and that stuff, right? So I'm saying that to say is that I was doing that because I was passionate about it and I loved doing it, and I was doing it because it didn't feel like work, right? So it's like, and it's still kind of creating and building my capacity on a lot of levels, right? So I am getting paid from it indirectly by doing other stuff, right? It's getting me photography jobs. It's getting me like I created a salary off of my YouTube channel, and it's giving me opportunities that I probably wouldn't have if I didn't have it, right? So you got to understand, like, it's like what I like about you is that what I like about a lot of black folks is that we very self-aware, right? So the thing is, you self-aware about, your style, what you like to do, what you don't like to do, and how you want to position yourself. And I like that. And I think, like, if you're doing it just because you love to do it, then you'll do it. Sometimes if somebody hire you, you're not really paying a lot, but they kind of working you too much, right? And then it kind of takes the fun out of it, or you don't want to do it. So sometimes I kind of stray away from jobs because I don't know. It's like it just seems like it's a lot of hard work, and people that want a penny pinch and don't really want to pay. So I feel some type of way about like people not really respecting the craft, right? So this lady hit me up for a flyer, and I was like, it's 150. That's how much they are. They not $30. You know what I'm saying? Like 150 to me is not even a lot of money, right? To me, I think anything underneath $1,000 is not a lot of money to me, right? It can't cover a mortgage. If you can't cover a mortgage in your first month, like it needs to be 1,500, really. You know what I'm saying? Anything else under that is really not a lot of money to me. You know what I'm saying? So, it's like I think at a certain point after I got burnt so many times, like I was doing work without getting paid. Like I'm talking from experience, right? They don't give me no deposit money. I just start working, right? This person like, oh, I'm on my way. Like this person kept telling me, I'm on my way to PayPal. I'm on my way to the bank. I'm on my way to the bank. Like this person was recommended. Like I done went to job sites where I done drove down here to meet somebody to do some work. They don't know who I am. I've wasted so much time with people that after a while you just kind of get fed up and you kind of get a thick skin. So, and then you got a lot of friends, you got a lot of family members too that want some work, and you don't want to tell your friend, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to tell your friend no, but at the same time, it's still work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So.
And that's been my whole, like my friends get married, they can't afford a photographer, so, they ask me to step in, or, my mom needs, something, a little, something, and, she knows, we're in quarantine, I'm not doing nothing, but it's like I could be using my 6 hours to be doing something else, but and then, they treat you as if they're paying you sometimes, and it's like, whoa, like you can't be talking to me like this, you can't be giving me no hard pressed deadlines, even the appreciation sometimes isn't, but I don't really dwell into the negative because it's like gotten at me so much. So what I like to do is I really just like to, think of what I was able to take away from the event. So I got to shoot my first wedding. That inspired me to look at art in a different way. So every experience I do, whether it's paid or unpaid, I always try to do something new, something that I haven't gotten into, and I really just try to, try new things and try to take something from it,
Yeah, I think it's like the thing is what I've done is I know how to, because I deal with a lot of people, so I know how to massage the situation, right? So you know, kind of indirectly, I may joke or say something with a friend or something, so they know how much it costs. Like, you know how much it's gonna cost? You know how much I charge for this? You know how much? But for you, I'll do it for this. So the thing is, if I do something for a friend or something at a lower cost, I completely control the narrative. Like, I'm gonna be here for 5 minutes. I'm giving you 10 shots, and I gotta go. I gotta do something else, right? So I'd rather be in control of it from them, you know. So it's like how you massage it, so people know like you busy. People know that you really high. This is how much this costs, or because one of the things is like money motivate me. I'm already kind of, you know, barely doing the jobs that I'm getting paid for. It's like so. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's so much going on. So somebody call me, they not really paying. I'm like, I gotta put you, like, I'm not really not gonna do it, honestly. Like, it's gonna drag me out. This is another thing too. It's like, you gotta get some people to put some skin in the game. So number one is put some skin in the game is get a deposit down. That's gonna let you know that they serious. And develop some type of paperwork, a contract, and like a questionnaire too, right? So I had a friend come to me. He's got not a martial arts. He's got a firearm business or whatever, and he wanted some. He was sincere. He cool, we cool, you know, and he wanted a logo and stuff. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna send his email. It's got 10, 15 questions, questionnaire on your tagline, your type, your address. I need all that typed in. When you send that back to me, I'll get back to you with a quote. So he never got back to me, but every time I would see him, like, can you just like grab me in the corner as we talking and meeting? Can you just put it together? Look, here's this. I'm like, nope. You got to fill out that questionnaire. You don't fill out that questionnaire, I can't do it. So guess what? Guess what happened? We never did it.
Yeah.
Because that kind of saved me, right? Because I don't want to be typing. I don't want to be going back and forth. Like, it kind of shows them that you super professional. Like, even though you my friend or a family member, I need you to fill this out. I need this.
It's a process for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what else you been working on? You got any questions about anything else?
No, I guess, my thing is I'm just being that I'm not in a classroom setting anymore, and I'm taking, other resource classes and looking up other, tutorials and things like that. I guess, where would you recommend, because I was using Canva, but they got this Canva Pro thing now, so they limit a lot of the features and stuff like that you used to be able to do, like resizing, and they don't have, grid lines and stuff like that. And I know something, is going to top Adobe at some point, or they're going to get better.
What are you using? You using a
now,
laptop? No. You using a laptop?
Yeah, I'm using a laptop. I have a Mac.
Okay. I say Affinity Designer and Affinity Designer is cool. I'm gonna share my screen. Okay. I got Affinity Photo. Affinity Photo is like Photoshop. Affinity Designer is like Illustrator. And then you got another Affinity. The other Affinity is like InDesign. And I got the app on my computer, right? On my iPad, but they got the desktop version too. What I like about both of them is that they have the same makeup. They got the toolbar, selection tools, pen tools, brushes, like blending modes, layers, like everything. If you understand Photoshop, then you can understand this program. What I like about them, and this is what a lot of designers has been kind of going after Adobe, is because it's not no overall cost. You just pay one-time fee. It's not like a monthly thing, right? Which is cool. And the iPad Pro version, like you could do vectors using the iPad Pencil. Like I'm seeing some dudes doing some cool stuff. So that's Affinity. I think getting the Canva Pro was worth it too.
Okay.
Canva Pro is worth it too. Let's just say you was outsourcing your work to another person. You was sharing some of the work with somebody else. And you wanted, let's just say you had a rookie come underneath you and wanted to do some online stuff using your brand, right? They could open up your templates and kind of type in and type the templates. Let's just say you started a podcast. You know how some, well, not some, but podcasts have imagery to go with it, right? You don't want to do that all the time, so you sent this to a younger person underneath me or whatever, right? So remember I talked about us being a community, a network. You say, Jay, you got a young person who could do some of this stuff for me, right? So I was like, yeah, I got another young designer. He comes in, he can open up your templates in Canva and change your podcast information. This episode 10, here's the person on here, here's the title of that, and then edit that and send that back to you.
Okay.
And then you get
do grid lines.
grid lines. I'm not sure.
Okay, because that's always like I haven't been able to. I know Word, because I even like back in the day I would even like do some stuff in Word where you can like create shapes and stuff like that.
Got you.
And even in Google Docs, but now like they don't do any of that now. But yeah,
I think.
need grid lines.
Okay.
That helps me.
I think Affinity is more like Photoshop. It's cheaper. It's going to act like a real program, not like a web-based like Canva. I think Canva is quick for like quick stuff that you want to throw up real quick, but from the sound of it, I think Affinity is like the best idea for you to do, to get. Like, I would recommend Affinity for anybody if you think about it, right? So, because that licensing, you ain't getting paid enough for for the licensing, so.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's the goal. I eventually, once I learn how to use it more, I love it. I loved Adobe for sure.
Yeah,
if Photoshop though.
Yeah, if you look at this, it's the same, right? It's blending modes. It's in the same spots and everything, right? You got toolbar, you got layers on the right side. When you look at it, it's all the same. So if you can get in Photoshop, you can get in here. It's gonna do the same thing. Like it's almost like they copied it, which is crazy.
For sure.
Yeah.
I wonder who's backing it, who's behind it.
Yeah, that's dope. Custom brushes, brush packs. You got an iPad too?
I had an iPad. I don't have one anymore.
Okay. How you feel about when I was talking about that UIUX stuff? Because I saw you did a little.
Yeah, no, I've been wanting to do UIUX, but when I was like in high school, like when it really started. I mean, it's always been around, but yeah, I've always wanted to get into that. I actually thought about going to grad school for that. The program was really more human computer interaction design, and it didn't feel like it was UIUX. It was University of Washington, but I was so burnt out after I graduated. I was like, I can't do another 3 years. I ended up putting that on hold, but for sure, definitely. I would say print design, like print collateral, and UIUA, and then website would probably be like my top 3 priorities in terms of design, like what I would want to do.
What school you in classes now?
No, since I got back, I've been looking. I'm trying to find the right program. I know, Tri-C, they have a lot of these classes. I know they have a certificate program and things like that. But there's just a specific style of studying that I need to really like. Like I need that. It has to start with like a pencil and a paper. Like I can't go straight to the computer. Like it has to be like more like you were saying at the beginning of the class, like design thinking, design conception. I need that pre-design phase to really be nailed in, because that's just how I learn. I can't. I gotta start with the. It has to feel. I don't know. It has to feel natural. I just can't go to just do something. So I'm just looking for that right program.
Unfortunately, I gotta land this plane. It's 11:57. Any closing statements? I know we talked a lot.
No, I don't have any closing. Just appreciate your time.
Thank you. Yeah. I need to see something though. I need to see something from you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get inspired for the right thing. I don't know.
Okay. So some photography, some designs, kind of looking into Affinity, kind of thinking about starting that channel, starting something, right? Or building on the stuff you have.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be something design related.
Okay.
So, yeah, but I'll definitely keep you posted for sure.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
That's that. That's the end of the class. That's the end. Let me make this cereal. So that's what it is. Like, it's a lot. Like technology, mindset, all of that is the full circle of design. You gotta have the technology aspect of it. You gotta know how these apps work. You gotta have a solid workflow that makes you quick, makes you get your ideas done. And I like the fact that Jasmine talks about sketching out the stuff first and getting on the paper and what's my process for that, right? So, that's my process. So learning your shortcuts and your tools and all of that stuff. It's your man Jayworking signing off. Another day, another dollar. Thank you for tapping into your man, your boys. And let me get the cereal.